if you can frame that situation without not only history, but without the future, don't think about the history of what Tommy Rees has done, and don't think at all about what we're all hoping Golson to be in the future. Take that situation in a snapshot.
No,
Was it really that bad? It just goes to show you how crazy things change, and it goes to show you how everything we say in the podcast is only good for about a week.
Well, luckily there's only about a dozen people out there that hear it. 6:03 p.m. Sunday, September 9th. Irish and coffee and donuts.
Irish coffee?
And a show. Irish coffee and donuts.
Gotcha.
Show.
Take me through everybody probably had an emotional journey with what happened. Take me through how that felt to you.
Golson fumbled. It was frustrating, but we're tied. We know we got time. We can go down the field. Let Golson redeem himself. I'm sure Everett thinks the same thing. All right, and we talked about this in the podcast last week. We talked about last week. Would you pull Golson in a pressure situation?
Right.
No, I think it's the worst possible thing you could do for the guy's psyche. He was pissed. Now, that being said, just like Kelly had an easy out to start Everett at the beginning of the season because Tommy got arrested, Kelly also had an easy out to put Tommy in the game yesterday because Golson was hurt. I knee-jerked initially like, Kelly, please, no, don't do this. Why are you doing this to us? Why do you hate me? Why do you want me to die? I didn't realize the severity of Golson's injury. But at the same time, it sounded like Kelly and Chuck Martin were already talking about maybe putting Tommy in, which goes a little bit further to say that Tommy does, in fact, know the 2-minute offense better. And I can live with that, too. If you say Everett's the starter, he's the future of our program, we're trying to work some more things in for him, there's a couple of situational things that he is not proficient at yet, one being the 2-minute offense. You don't need to go out and proclaim it so other coaches can plan for it, but it looks like that's the case for the time being. I'm okay with that.
I think the reason I ended up being okay with this, and I never thought I would be at the time, I was freaking out, but the reason I ended up being okay was, again, as a fan, I had so much, not only of the past, but also the future swirling in my head, and the real reason I was upset is because I wanted to believe that Golson was already ready to run a 2-minute drill and not get hurt and be Superman, and he's not. He's just not ready to be there, and that's not a big problem. The bottom line is, Kelly gets paid the big bucks, he stayed in the moment, nothing he did had anything to do with the rest of the season at that moment. Nothing he did had anything to do with last season.
That's true.
And that's why he was laser focused on what's my best option right now. Again, there was so much that happened on the actual drive. We all saw what happened, and when Rees tried to call timeout, I'm thinking this is the worst decision ever, and I really didn't want to, and it's overkill to say fire Kelly. Anybody that's doing that had.
I retweeted Poot, who said fire Kelly. Which I don't think he believed that. I know I didn't believe that.
That's over the top. That's a crime of passion, and we can let people go. But the moment that I really thought, hey, the first time I thought maybe this wasn't a horrible idea, again, not knowing the extent of Golson's injury, was when they got down, they got the ball to the middle of the field, he spiked it, he set up the field goal perfectly, Rees set it up perfectly, and just simple things like that, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, the entire second half, I watched Golson look to the sideline, whether it was him doing that or Kelly forcing him to do that, and it was so irritating. It's like, take off the training wheels, send the play out, and let him execute. But in that regard, it just speaks to potentially running the 2-minute offense better.
As much as this looked like a disaster of quarterback confidence blowing up and everything else to me, it looks like he kind of knows what he's doing. Maybe this was part of the plan. Golson did great against Navy. Obviously struggled. I don't want to say he struggled. His stats were great, but as far as punching in the red zone and conversion, finish it off. And we weren't helped by field position, a lot of other things. But back to what you were saying, let's take that into two parallels. One, which is Rees getting it to the middle for the field goal. So tell me about, what do you think Brian Kelly has learned since Tulsa last year?
Yeah, well, I think everybody knows that. And there's no doubt that Kelly has been a football coach for a long time, but there's no doubt that in a sense of the big time, the big show, the pressure cooker that is Notre Dame Stadium, I think situationally, and this This one is causing a lot of people to scratch their head, but I think time is really going to vindicate him on this one. He's becoming a better situational coach, and he's not latching solely onto the hope and dreams that the rest of us are after having maybe a couple fermented beverages during the course of the game. He's in the moment, and that's another thing that I was going to say. For anybody out there that's still thinking maybe Kelly is just in crazy town on this, ask yourself this hypothetical question. Let's say Golson went down earlier in the game with a catastrophic injury, and immediately Kelly would trot out blank. Tommy Rees.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and you know what? Last week, hey, slap us on the hand. We were saying that's not what it should have been. It should have been Hendricks. But think about it. If the game was close and there was a catastrophic injury earlier, nobody would have been shocked that Rees went out there. We would have felt less like, hey, this is Kelly playing chess instead of being forced into it, but that's what he would have done. And then the other thing I thought was, if you can frame that situation without not only history, but without the future, don't think about the history of what Tommy Rees has done, and don't think at all about what we're all hoping Golson to be in the future. Take that situation in a snapshot. Was it really that?
No.
Was it really that bad?
It's not. And I think when you put it that way, that really sums up probably most people's emotion, which is Everett's the future. He's got to do it.
We have all these things swirling in our head. And we're worried about the rest of the season.
And the truth is, Coach Kelly probably says, "Hey, am I thrilled that we're tied with Purdue? No, we're 40 points better than this team. But that's the reality. Is we're here. We're now. Damn it, we're putting Tommy in. We're getting down to the 35. He's running, a weak and sliding to the left, and he's centering it up, and we kick the field goal, and we're gonna get out with a win." It'll be interesting next week to see Sierra back against Michigan State. I mean, that's a true test right there. You know, is Notre Dame and Purdue just both mediocre teams, or is Purdue actually going to be pretty decent this year? We found out that what we actually have in some of our depth, and we got to get after it, at Spartan. So we'll see how that plays.
Yeah, well, I think like you said, I mean, to give Purdue a little credit, let's throw one question. Let's just give Purdue a little credit, because we kind of dogged on Purdue last week.
I dogged on Purdue for basically every day of my life.
Okay, so what happened at the end of the game absolutely overshadowed Purdue's very own quarterback controversy. So I just want to make sure I'm not going crazy. I have to get this out there and get it out of my head. Robert Marv was 11 for 18, 117 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Caleb Turbush not only has a weird name, he was 8 for 19, 79 yards, 1 TD, and 2 picks. And one of them was very, the last one wasn't as big of a deal, but his first pick was very consequential. Would Purdue have won if Marv played this whole game? I mean,
well, Marv got hurt. We said again, if you don't listen to our podcast, you probably should. We said in the last one Marv was going to break his leg. What happened? Marv snapped his leg, and Turbush came in for the last drive. Now, fortunately for Caleb, hidden in that 8-19, Marvel is the drive to tie it up with Notre Dame in the fourth quarter. I mean, he did what he was needed to do. But yeah, I don't listen. I'm not going to sit here and try to understand what's going through Danny Hoke's head.
With those aviators on, I'm just thinking, hope this guy doesn't pull me over with his motorcycle, when I'm speeding on the way home.
I'm more like, he doesn't have a trench coat on, does he?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen this guy's manifesto here? Look at that mustache.
Hey, maybe some Purdue fans can reach out, hit us up on Twitter, let us know. But I just felt like at the beginning of that game, everything clicks when Marv is out there and Turbush. It just didn't seem like it was working.
No.
And I'm like, and then they had the stat where they had 4 starting quarterbacks. It's like that's obviously not a good thing. I feel like that's enough for the Purdue game, unless there's anything else about the Purdue game. Obviously, the penalties, but what do you say about penalties? It's really irritating when we have false starts.
Got blown on his ass the very first play of the game. Is he 57? Who's number 57? I think it's a right guard. Got just pancaked the first play. Purdue they brought it.
Impressive defensive line, there's no doubt about that. But again, what do we say about that? Hey, we shouldn't be having false starts in our home field? Yes, of course. We shouldn't have multiple captains with late hits?
All the other fans of everybody else on our schedule saying the same thing when we face them, which is, damn, Notre Dame's D-line is out of control.
Yeah.
That Knicks guy was blowing our center back 5 feet.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say they didn't really allow rushing up the middle at all. Now, when they got spread out, they are still a little bit susceptible to the quarterback scrambling. But as far as shutting off the interior of rushing, obviously the D-line does a good job. Okay, let's move on. That game is one that's just, it was weird and it's a win, and that's all it really has to be. Michigan State, not so quietly, beat number 24 Boise State, and then they absolutely drubbed Central Michigan, but still absolutely drubbed them 41-7. Are you/we getting nervous about Sparty?
I'm really not. You know, it's going to be. We'll see how it works playing at night. I mean, this team really needs to find an identity when the lights go down, because they have a lot of night games this year. And they need to do it. You know, I watched the Michigan State Boise State game. I don't think Michigan's good. They're solid, but they're not elite. The team that played Navy 2 weeks ago can beat Michigan State. The team that played Purdue probably won't. You know, I'll tell you what I do know. D'Antonio on a Boise had a 4th and whatever, called a timeout, just like how you'd ice a kicker. He called a timeout right before a 4th and 2 play for Boise as they were running the play. Low down, dirty. I mean, This is the guy that called the fake field goal, right? Who basically sold his soul to the devil and had a heart attack after the game was over. But that, and it was interesting to see Boise, when they came back out, that was their play that got taken away from them because they knew and they ran something else and they didn't get it. I'm just telling you now, count on him to do some low down, dirty, underhanded. I mean, it's football, it's coaching, it's gamesmanship, whatever. He goes below the belt. He does. He'll run a trick play before we do, and I don't count the little flip reverse there as a quote-unquote trick play. I mean, that's just more of a counter and misdirection more than anything. But I'm not afraid of Michigan State. I don't think that Bell is going to be able to run the ball inside the tackles 50 times in that game. He's not going to have a body left. He's a big dude. He's physical. We got Lewis Nix. We got hopefully Sheldon Day back. But I just don't think that you're Bell and you're running between the tackles against Stephon Tuitt and Manti and Carlo and whoever repeatedly. It doesn't work. And they're replacing a senior quarterback, you know. It looked like they passed a lot, last week against was it Central Michigan?
Right. So a little bit harder to gauge. Obviously, we maybe want to key a little bit more on the Boise State game as far as what kind of Michigan State team are we going to have. But yeah, it seems like thus far Navy's. We would assume that Navy's bread and butter is running outside. Obviously with the option. And we would assume that Purdue's bread and butter is pretty much passing the ball. I mean, they have the quarterback situation there that we talked about. And Michigan State's the first team that is maybe trying to make a name on running, like you said, inside the tackles. If we're scouting any situation whatsoever, we're going to feel most confident about it being a run. A running focused team. Overall, against Michigan State, I think the most exciting part about this game, not only the fact that it's primetime, national TV, and all that kind of stuff, is that both the teams being ranked, and this game has meant a lot to both teams in the past. And I think this is the first year where the game is really kind of transcending what it means just to the two of them. I think this is really about, like you said, which team has an identity. I think the team
prime time
that grabs a hold of this
number
game.
10.
Yeah.
We're up to 20th.
22.
Or something
yeah.
like that. I'll tell you what. I'll make a prediction right now. Sierra Wood will have about 150 yards rushing. If we win, we'll have as good or better rushing yards too. I'll throw that in. If we win, we need to run the ball better.
Yeah.
And I think Sierra Wood has the potential to be the star of the game.
Okay, I'll go with you on that. Well, my prediction's a very easy one, and my prediction's going to be the winner of this game is going to be 3-0, and they're going to be ranked. And if I'm Michigan, as in Michigan Wolverines, not Michigan State, I'm looking at the winner of this game, and I think I'm getting pretty nervous based on their performances against Air Force, based on what happened with them against Alabama, and knowing everybody in the stadium knowing that all you have is Denard Robinson. I think if I'm Michigan and I have to play the winner of this game that's 3-0 and ranked, because I believe that they play Michigan State pretty close. It might be later in the season. That's going to be a pretty scary team coming off this win, 3-0.
But Notre Dame's 19th in there, I think it is. Purdue actually looks better than Michigan. Michigan State's like 15th or 10th, so they're above us. They got a schedule equally as good as ours, surprisingly so, and that's probably from playing Boise. But I think it's winnable. I absolutely think it's winnable. I would love to not have to see Rees in this game. Maybe we see Rees. I don't know. But Sierra Wood, if he does what he does, our line needs to get back into shape, man. I don't know what if they were just. Purdue was just firing off the line. They weren't worrying about anything else other than knocking Notre Dame back. And if that was their plan, they did a good job of it. We need to establish a line of scrimmage on offense. That's going to make a difference.
Yeah, especially
Golson
with
got sacked.
back
He got
there,
sacked 5 times. I mean, come on. You know, is the guy going to take negative yardage on runs? Is he going to throw picks? Is he going to drop fumbles when he's getting knocked down a lot? Yeah, he is. You can't let a quarterback look at Jimmy Clausen, good quarterback. The year we were 3-9, he was getting abused all over the place. What do you want the guy to do? So, line, we need to bring it. I would agree with that.
Well, what do you want the guy to do is throw the ball out of bounds, which was at least one that Golson didn't, where he was sacked. So he needs to at least learn that skill. As soon as you get outside of the pocket, buddy, look for those yellow seats and just chuck it. But yeah, with Michigan State, and we've been together, we've watched games. Michigan State, this game has been at night in the past. There was also a very curious thing where the away team kind of had the upper hand in this series for many years, and this game has spelled heartbreak for one or two of these teams, and this goes all, as far as I recall, this
literally
goes back to,
in D'Antoni's case. But,
right,
but
exactly.
I mean, you think
this goes back to 2005, and probably even before that. And don't say 1966.
You got anything else?
Yeah, I got one final shot. At halftime, the ND band paid tribute to the late Neil Armstrong, who was actually a Purdue grad. Do you buy that we actually landed on the moon, or no?
I do.
You do buy that?
I do buy
Okay.
that. I'm buying that.
Okay. According to Armstrong's wishes, he's going to be buried at sea, and by sea, I mean a 50,000-gallon tank on a Hollywood soundstage. Sorry, too soon? Okay. Anyway, just thought that was a cool little story. ND band paying tribute to Neil Armstrong, Purdue grad.
Phi Delta Theta fraternity.
Oh yeah, okay. All right, well I think that's it. We got Sparty coming up next, and I think everybody's gonna feel like this one's a fork in the road. I think that this game is gonna springboard.
This dictates,
this will springboard them, or things will be. It'll get really, really ugly very quickly if they lose.
You know, we'll probably lose a game this year. I don't want to believe that we will, but we're probably going to lose a game this year.
Maybe one. Maybe.
I would just rather it not be this one this soon. Yeah, because if we go 6-0 or whatever it is, drop one to whoever.
The first loss is always so early. I think that everybody that stayed in it through the thick and thin with the Irish here, everybody deserves to just get one of those really nice beginnings to a season. You know. Where they've just won a few games before.
The point is, I want to have my heart ripped out 6 weeks from now, not next week.
Yeah, in October. I mean, against USC, against Oklahoma. I'd rather have Oklahoma be my reality check than Michigan State.
I think we can. I know we can beat Michigan State. I think we will. I think we will beat Oklahoma.
Okay, we're not recording still, are we? Okay.
I think we will beat Oklahoma, and I think we will beat USC.
Okay. So 12-0 national championship.
No, I didn't say that. I think we'll beat USC, and I think we'll beat Oklahoma.
I gotcha. Okay.
This one, I hope we win.
Okay. Well, that just got a little crazy. We should probably wrap it up. All right. We'll see everybody next week. Be good. Go to church.